welcome back to the Virtual Antics Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Guzman, and today I'm so excited. I have the Queen of the Worms on this call. Welcome, Cathy. How are you?
Hi, Natalie. Thank you. Queen of Worms.
My listeners, why I just called you the Queen of the Worms.
I have a crown. I love it. Yeah, so it is the 21st anniversary of Cathy's Crawly Composters. The Crawly part is the worms. So it's indoor composting with worms. Yes, worms in the house. And keep listening, folks. It's all right. So yeah, oh my gosh, this is why I was put on earth. I'm a worm advocate and I'm located just north of Toronto in Canada, largest city in the country. And in 2002, our landfill closed. And we started to export our garbage to the United States. And so Toronto, 6 million people in the greater Toronto area, a lot of people, half living in condos, apartments, townhouses without space to do composting outside. And I understand that not everybody composts anyway, but they could. All right, so I had a solution. This is indoor composting. So the same idea as doing composting outside, except in a container with worms. They eat your food scraps and your paper, and they turn it into compost, into black gold that you can put on your plants. It's plant food. So for me, it was like a no-brainer. This is just like so great. I'm going to have such a great business because everybody will do this because we need it. And then I realized, people don't buy what they need. They buy what they want. Whoops. Flaw in the business model. And really, thank goodness I didn't think about all that before I started my business. I had an idea, oh, I'm the one. Look at this. It's a great solution. I just saw, wow, this great solution for this global problem. Food waste, everybody eats. Why truck it away? We can manage it on site. And I wanted to put worms. My goal 21 years ago was worms in every living space. I didn't know there wasn't a market, by the way. I didn't know that people didn't want what I had. And thank goodness I plowed ahead. I went ahead. And Natalie, I've had such an amazing life.
It's amazing.
I have had such a trip. I mean, worm advocate, who knew? There was a lot of naysayers. Like anyone listening, there's lots of gems in this episode because I talk about life as an entrepreneur that I didn't even know. I was a secretary for 20 years. What did I know about running a business? I didn't. But here I am, still standing, squirming along.
Worming your way through, right? There you go. So so that's really interesting because most people, when they start a business, they go after a market, that has people it's what they want, right? But you're really selling something they need, but they don't really know they need it. So how do you cross that barrier and, get new clients?
Yeah. So luckily I realized early on that people didn't know about it. So I came up with an expression: without awareness, action is impossible. And it had to do with my business. If you don't know about having worms in the house, you're not calling me. Bad for business. So I started to do school workshops. So now I speak. I'm a speaker. I'm Chatty Cathy. It's so great. And that's one gift that I really that I have is I have no fear of public speaking. I don't care about looking ridiculous. No one's going to remember, or they will. Like either they will or they won't. And it doesn't matter. It's getting the message out. And so 20 years in, it's still my favorite piece, doing school workshops.
Oh, that's amazing. I have a passion for speaking as well. And it's just like showing your passion, getting other people passionate about it is such a cool thing. And that's why I think a lot of businesses are blooming right now with social media, because it's basically mini speaking episodes that you can do on social media and broadcast it to the world. And that's kind of where TikTok came in and became super popular. They don't realize that's just speakers. Go to events and you'll actually feel 10 times more power that you see in a 2-minute TikTok. But I love events. I love speaking and sharing the passion. That is amazing. So what are your exact services? Like, how do you really help them with the whole worm situation?
So now it's education. It's an education business. I do sell worms by the pound. I do have some products, but it really is speaking. So I come and show people how to do it. And in a school workshop, I would go in and the students set up during the session. So it's super fun, like just showing them all the things you can put in. There's so many lessons. That's what I've realized, that there are this is a whole piece. We're so disconnected from nature that we've forgotten everything. So this is just going totally back to the basics, and it's just so much fun. It's back to Toronto, it's an urban jungle, right? Lots of condos. Some of those children have never even seen a worm, never mind held one. And that's the grand finale, is holding the worms. And Natalie, it makes my heart sing where I see kids, they're afraid, they're apprehensive, they don't know, but it's exciting. And then I say, when the worms come out, I say, this is my favorite part. It's going to be loud. So I have to give all the instructions before I start, because they're squealing, and it's the energy just goes from like, not sure to what, it's over the top. And when you see kids engaged, it's like when you're speaking, when you move the audience, that's what it is, these little micro TikTok, but that last an hour.
That's awesome. So what are some of the benefits of having worms in your home?
Right. So they convert your food scraps and your paper. So you take your potato peels, your banana peels, coffee grounds, carrot, onion, not onions, carrot, lettuce, whatever. No meat, no dairy, no sauce is what stays out. And I would leave out citrus and onions and garlic, just as a category. And there's instructions on my website about exactly how to. But the worms then it's aerobic, meaning with oxygen. So although you're putting rotting food in, it doesn't smell. Aerobic means with oxygen. If it ever smells bad, the oxygen has now been converted into methane. We can't breathe methane, neither can the worms. So it's like a built-in mechanism. Oh, some action required. So it's special worms. The worms are red wiggler worms. There are like 3,000 or 4,000 types of worms, earthworms. Only 4 have been identified as optimum for living in a container. So the red wigglers, they eat half their weight per day in food scraps. So for a family, it's a wonderful lesson, because you're taking your scraps rather than putting it at the curb and the truck comes along, you don't know what happens to it. You can convert it into soil and then grow more food without chemicals, right? You're feeding the soil, and then that's how nature intended. You're adding the microbes in there, the life that convert it, right? Then there's not people, like organisms eating the poop. They're pooping out stuff, and then other things coming along. Oh, thanks for pre-chewing the food. And then the worms come along and they aerate the soil, and then the sow bugs, and then the birds, and then the rodents, right? Like everybody plays a role. And then our food. And when we garden, gardeners are hopeful, first of all, right? Planting seeds and then waiting, but when you grow food, you rarely waste it. It tastes so good. Plus you grew it and it took a lot of effort. So you're going to eat it. Food waste is one of the things that is really contributing to climate change. So if we can manage our food waste, imagine. And so my goal at the beginning was worms in every living space. Here we are 21 years later, and still not everybody knows yet. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
I think it's a really interesting subject, especially now, especially in the US. Food prices have risen. Gardening is becoming more and more popular because we want to grow our own food to save some money, right? I don't even want to tell you how much I just spent on gas and groceries the other day. So for a family of 4, it's crazy. And the minimum wage hasn't risen. I can go on and on. But at the heart of it, it's like, this is a tool that we could really use to help with gardening. My husband, actually, it's a hilarious story he's a Instagrammer, loves posting about fishing content on Instagram. And he posted one of his first posts, not about fishing, whatever, because he was so angry. He went to McDonald's and he ordered 4 hash browns for the kids for breakfast. And it cost $20 for 4 hash browns. That used to be like $1 a piece. What? Yeah. So he took a potato and started growing his own potatoes in the backyard. And I think it's like the funniest thing ever, because he's not a gardener. He's like not a guy that like loves doing house chores or anything like that, but just because of the desperation to save some money, he started growing his own potatoes. And so we started looking into like growing our own food and saving money that way. And I think it's such an interesting, plus it's healthier. So I also have a daughter that has multiple stomach issues, acid reflux, you name it. And so she needs to have, foods that are less on chemicals, no acidic foods, nothing really fatty. There's whole list of foods she can and can't eat, but she grew this appreciation for like vegetables. Like we go to restaurants, she'll get soup and salad. Yeah, she's a very unique child. She's actually starting her own podcast, which is really cool. And she's only 6. So she is just like very in tune with her body and wanting stuff that is more natural, and even then extending to the world because of like she's learning about Earth Day in school and things like that. So I think it's really interesting that we have this really fine-tuning tool that we don't really know about, we're not utilizing. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's using worms in their household. So I think it's really cool, and it's definitely something that could help us with that process and contribute, to the world.
Well, my working title is Cathy Crawly, Laughing Bean Queen. As an entrepreneur, I've added different things in like people do. And so the Bean Queen part is a super simple sprouter. For 21 years at my very first event, I'm just floating along having this life because I'm divinely guided. I just trust. Everybody is. We just don't always tap into it. We were like, oh, what is that feeling? And we discount things. If we go within, we get the answer, by the way, if we ask. So in 2002, I was at an event, and this man had this sprout grower. It looks like I'm doing this because it looks like a spaceship. It's a plastic like dome. It's a little microclimate, and it's to grow sprouts. And I didn't know anything about sprouts or sprouting, why you would eat them. This gentleman was 72. Ballroom dancer, still working at 72, exhibiting. It's not easy. Okay, so there he was with this sprout grower. I said, what is that spaceship thing? And why are people buying that and not my worms? And he said, it's a sprout grower, and told me all about sprouts. So I said, okay, I'm in. I don't need to know why something works. I'm just like, oh, look at you. You look super healthy. I want to be like you. At 72. He's 94 this year and still living on his own, still pretty healthy, right? So he said to me, if you're going to do this, start your day with 2 tablespoons of sprouted mung beans. And so I'm saying this because you mentioned about your daughter. There's up to 100 times more digestive enzymes in raw sprouts than raw vegetables. They're hydrating, alkalizing, regenerative, biogenic, and the enzymes. So beautiful. Anyway, if you send me your address, I'll send you one of my super simple sprouters for your daughter. Try it. I mean, for the whole family, it really is. I turned 60 last year. I'm high energy. I have no health issues, take no prescription drugs. I'm super duper healthy, and I think it's the sprouts. And then since 2012, laughter. So now sprouts and laughter are a big part of my health plan and my life.
Laughter, that is the number one thing that got me through so much of my life. And I am definitely one of those sarcastic people that can say you talk about something normal, and then I come off with a joke in 1 second. And it's just I don't know. I think laughter is really the best medicine. They were 100% right, because it just, it gets your mood boosting and going. I have a crazy story. I was a foster kid and went through all these traumatic things in my life, and laughter was the one thing that stayed by me through it all and got me through everything. So I definitely believe that laughter is the best medicine.
Thank you. Laughter is the best medicine. I heard a bit of your story on Whizzes.
Yeah, that's the Stuck in My Mind podcast.
Yes, right. Laughter is the best medicine. Have you had your daily dose? Here you go. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. It's not just an expression, folks. It's the truth. Yeah. When we're laughing, we're secreting the love drugs. We're secreting something anyway. When we're stressed, we're secreting cortisol, adrenaline, all the stress hormones. And our body does not know the difference between real and simulated laughter. Our mind does. Right? Our brain's like, oh, stop it. You look weird. What are you doing? Because the brain's role is to keep us safe and conserve energy. It knows what to do. That's why you get triggered by family. It's like, oh, we've been here before. Here we go. Around we go. We can stop that, right? We can change it. And so laughter, when we're laughing, we're totally present. We're not thinking about tomorrow, yesterday, that thing we said, that incident we had. We're just like right here, right now. And it's not even a survival mechanism. I mean, it totally is. It's a thrival one, but it's not a survival one in that, we can only laugh when we feel safe. When we can only laugh full on when we feel safe at that moment, because when we're laughing, our stomach hurts, our cheeks hurt, our knees get weak, right? So we couldn't even run away if we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So it's a beautiful thing. Oh, yes.
That's awesome. And then there was a study that was done that like 90% of the time, if you think back about a happy memory, you're probably laughing, or you're looking at someone that's laughing, which is I know for me, almost all of my amazing memories had laughter in them. And it's because it also triggers your mind. So it increases your memory. So my stepfather was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and they said one of the best things you can do is give him these amazing memories. And so I think of so we always try to have fun. like he's having a birthday party this week and we're getting little cowboy hats. So we get little like fake horses so we can just run around and be crazy with him. And because it's going to trigger his memory, he's going to have that memory longer. So yeah, I love laughter. I think it's definitely the best and it helps us. I mean, it just makes you feel good, right? And like you said, it gives you that energy just to get through your day. Even when we just lost a family member, and I think I always say that parents' biggest superpower is keeping your kids happy when you're going through a tough thing in life. And so their dad had to go to Puerto Rico last minute. And so I sat in the car and they were bawling their eyes out. And I was like, you know what? We got to have fun. I put a silly song on. I did the embarrassing dance moves. And all of a sudden, their whole demeanor changed, right? They were happy. They were like, oh, daddy's going to be home soon. It's going to be okay. And they were just the biggest smiles and singing and dancing. It was such a beautiful moment in such a sad time. So I think also using laughter, like when, you're going through it and when you're having hard times, like it's okay to laugh. I think that's the biggest thing is people feel like, oh no, it's not okay. I should be ashamed. It's supposed to be sad. And there's no rule book to emotions. No one's saying that you have to be sad at funerals. You don't have to be, or, in a mourning period for so long. I was like, you can still laugh and still mourn at the same time.
So beautiful. Well said, right? Who said? Yeah, it's like ashamed and whatever. Those are on those people.
Yeah.
That's not on you.
Start caring about other people's opinions, which we don't need to do. We're better than that. So
it's just the message is just we need to feel the emotions because they're emotions. It's energy in motion. That's all. Work through it and then and not to discount it. Just feel what it is. Here it is. It's this, and then know that it can move. It's energy in motion. I would love to share in nature, and I know people know this. We look at animals. We'll say rabbits. If a rabbit is being chased by a predator and it gets away, it goes and shakes. It's like, trauma. It gets that off. It goes and shakes. And a lot of animals do that. I think all of nature except people. And then it gets on, then it hops away and then it goes and eats and all. Well, we hold on to it. We have some event, we go and it gets into our belly. If we don't go and shake or get it out, it's there. And then the next one and the next one, and they're all there. Sometimes when people do laughter yoga, they may feel sad after an episode of laughter because we're doing deep diaphragmatic, like we're moving our diaphragm and it's like internal jogging. So everything gets released. Sometimes emotions will burble up and somebody might feel sad. And as the laughter teacher, it's our role just to say, we're not therapists. It's not therapy. We're just asking people if they feel sad to just experience it and, just ask themselves, because I think when things burble up, it's because we're ready to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of bringing it back to the worms, I was like, laughter and emotions, it's a whole cycle, right? You're releasing the stored negative emotions with laughter. And I was like, well, the worms are kind of doing that with our scraps and such. They're taking, they're disposing of the waste so that the earth can be a little bit healthier, which is, to me, is kind of like the bad emotions, right? And it's like the waste. So they're taking the waste and they're really recycling those same things like we do with laughter. So it's kind of cool how your laughter and worms go hand in hand.
Right. You know what? It wasn't until I used to feel like a juggler, like I have worms, I have sprouts, I have laughter. Oh, what do you want? What do you need? I got it. And then 2020, and I had time to think. And then I could think some more. And I realized, wow, it was mind blowing. It's so funny. You go along, but when you stop and pause and think, answers come. And I realized what I do is just a sustainable way of being. It's just if everybody did what I do, if everybody had a worm bin, I don't mean as a business, just in life, and they grew their own sprouts and they laughed every day, I wouldn't even need to be in business because everybody would just be doing all these things and we could do other things to change the world. I don't think in my lifetime I'll be out of work because there will always be more people not knowing what I'm doing and just more places to spread the joy. It's just it's magic. It's a magic life, and I want this for everybody.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all the laughter and worms. I absolutely love it. Where can we find you?
So I would love to invite your listeners to my Tuesday Chuckle Club. It's online, 9:30 a.m., 30 minutes, super fun, self-care on Zoom. And as a laughter yoga teacher, I incorporate tapping, brain gym, qigong, other healing modalities. Laughter goes with everything. I just want to help people get out of stress and into joy. If you're going to come and you've never done it, plan to come twice, because the first time is maybe awkward, but maybe not. Like in Zoom, you're in your own room, but it's super fun. I get about 25 people weekly, not the same people, come when you can, it's free, and come experience the magic of laughing for the health of it.
That's perfect. That's 9:30. What time zone?
Oh, Eastern, I'm sorry.
I work with people all over the world. I'm meeting with someone in Poland this week, and I was like, she's like, wait, you're Eastern Standard Time. And I was like, yes. She's like, oh, well, I'm like CEST, and I'd never heard of it. Had to look it up. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So awesome.
Central European, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, she's actually.
Where are you located, Natalie?
Florida.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And she was actually a really cool story, but real quick, she was, you lived in Ukraine and now she's seeking refuge in Poland. And so, yeah, it was really interesting, really cool to hear her story. Maybe I'll have her on another podcast episode, but thank you so much for joining me, Cathy. And we will talk to you guys next time.